You said only Axios.
No, yesterday.
We have every major
you
network in America saying one thing, and they're trying to deny it. They all called her the border czar. And the reason they all want to try and deny it now is because they realize it's incredibly damaging to Kamala Harris if it is seen by the American people that she was indeed in charge of sorting out the border problem and presided over a complete disaster. So it's actually a critical thing here, and I'm bemused why the media is trying to pretend they didn't say what they said. All of them.
Piers Morgan uncensored episodes recently have been getting pretty wild, but this one might be the most wild one that I have seen yet. Piers Morgan brought on a couple of leftist guests, and he brought on Michael Knowles, who is obviously not a leftist. He works for the Daily Wire, very Christian, things like that. And Piers Morgan and Michael Knowles in this one had to team up against a woke lunatic leftist on this Piers Morgan uncensored episode because just how ridiculous they were getting with their claims. Let's get into this episode here of Piers Morgan Uncensored, where Michael Knowles and Piers Morgan destroy this woke libtard. Let's check this out.
We've done a bit of research while we've been on air because you were very clear that people on the left had not said Kamala was the border czar and are now trying to wriggle off the hook. So we've got a little mashup which Newsbusters had prepared for the delectation of the world. Let's take a look.
Border czar. Vice President Harris was not a border czar.
Meantime, Vice President and border czar Kamala Harris facing some backlash.
What he said about Harris and immigration was not true. She was never appointed border czar.
And this will be her first visit to the U.S.-Mexico border region since she was appointed as the border czar by President Biden.
People are going to have to counter the misinformation. You already hear folks talking about the border czar. She wasn't the border czar.
President Biden tapped Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to be the border czar.
Now, she wasn't the border czar. That's what Republicans labeled her.
They were very critical of Kamala Harris, especially in her role as border czar.
Now what she's up against is folks lying about her border record, calling her a border czar.
Kamala Harris, who was appointed as the border czar.
The Biden team didn't declare her the border czar. They wanted her to work on kind of the root causes of immigration.
There has been so much criticism against Kamala Harris. You know, she was the border czar.
Calling her sort of the border czar, which wasn't necessarily the case.
So the border, if they weren't planning to address it in a major way, do not make her your border czar. She met with some of the Northern Triangle countries, but nothing has effectively changed.
Now, would you like to review your emphatic denial that ever happened?
Last time I checked, I don't think I talked about the border czar. I don't think you showed a single clip of President Biden calling her a border czar. I don't think you showed.
Well, by the way, even if she's not named the actual, like, if she was never given the official title of border czar, like one of those clips was like, Biden never said that Kamala Harris was the border czar. She was just in charge of fixing a lot of the root causes of the immigration problems or something like that. It's like, okay, well, even if you're not called the border czar, if you're in charge of fixing the immigration problems, hey, you've done an absolutely horrible job because things have gotten really bad over the last 4 years since you've been in charge of that. Probably the main issue, if not one of the main issues in the United States right now, currently. One of the worst things that happened under the Biden administration, you were in charge of, whether or not you're called the border czar or not. If you're in charge of immigration and immigration has gotten this bad, you messed up. You're probably not fit for a promotion to president of the United States. It's probably not the best thing for us.
A single clip of Kamala Harris.
You didn't qualify. You said it was only Axios. You said only Axios.
No, yesterday.
We have every major network in America saying one thing, and they're trying to deny it. They all called her the border czar. And the reason they all want to try and deny it now is because they realize it's incredibly damaging to Kamala Harris if it is seen by the American people that she was indeed in charge of sorting out the border problem and presided over a complete disaster. So it's actually a critical thing here, and I'm bemused why the media is trying to pretend they didn't say what they said. All of them.
Well, two things real quick. When you were talking about that one publication yesterday that flip-flopped, I gave you the name. It's Axios that flip-flopped.
Yeah.
And the media, like you said, which is not trusted by either... Wait. The media that is not trusted by either the liberals or Republicans said a lot of stuff, and they're the ones calling her the border czar, but Joe Biden never did. Kamala Harris never did. She was not the border czar. She had a responsibility to talk to these countries, specifically these Central American countries, to see if they can engage in policy to reduce the flow of migrants. But facts matter. right now, the lowest crossing of migrants, even lower than Trump.
Hang on, hang on.
I know a lot of you see channels like this one, and it probably makes you want to start your own channel exposing the woke cult and maybe even replace your job with it eventually. If you don't know, I'm actually a YouTube strategist and I specialize in growing channels within this exact niche. I actually own a few other channels in this exact space that I never appear on, that I just handled the behind the scenes strategy for, that you probably watch pretty regularly, and I also work with a lot of larger names in the space to help them grow their channels. My main goal with this whole thing is to help equip good people with the skills that it takes to grow their channels, grow their voice, and expose the evils in the world. So if you want to know exactly how I grow my channels and my clients' channels so quickly, you can actually steal my exact strategy with the link to a YouTube video in the pinned comment on this video. I break everything down in that video in the pinned comment, so go check it out. Let's get back to the video.
Facts do matter. So, Michael, can you, for the benefit of Wajah, who clearly wasn't listening to you earlier, can you repeat what Joe Biden said about Kamala Harris in relation to her job?
I'll add in another line, too, which I excluded earlier. Wajah, you just said that Biden never made her the border czar or put her in charge of the border. Quote, March 24th, 2021, I've asked her, the VP today, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle, and the countries that help are going to need help in stemming the movement of many folks, stemming the migration to our southern border. It's not her full responsibility and job, but she's leading the effort. When she speaks for me. He imbues her with presidential authority, and then he turns to her, Madam Vice President, thank you. I gave you a tough job. Wajah, what about that is confusing?
Okay. No, I can understand English. I was an English major.
Throw your hands up.
As I said, even if she's not officially called the border czar by Joe Biden, it doesn't really matter at all. You know, she was given the responsibility of solving the immigration problem, improving immigration. And I don't know how much worse it could have gotten, other than you just saying, all right, screw it, we're not having border patrol anymore. Just let everybody in who wants to come in, you know, or pay people to come in. Seems like that's kind of what they're doing. It's just like, whatever, anybody who wants to come in can come in. But like I said, even if she's not given the official title, I can't see how she could have made the situation any worse. And even if she, you know, if there's ways that she could have made it worse, at the very least, these are not grounds for a promotion to president of the United States. Like, anybody who votes for Kamala Harris, you're an absolute idiot. You're an absolute idiot. Or you've not researched at all, even a little tiny bit. Because if you do any research, you'll see things like this pop up of Michael Knowles destroying this idiot with facts. And you're just like, oh yeah, I can't vote for that person. She would just run the country into the ground even more than it already is.
Admit you were wrong.
No, I know that you guys are doing the RNC's work for them. I know you're trying to help Trump, who's struggling right now.
Facts matter, you said.
No, facts matter. You said, you all are saying that she's the border czar, and I have ears and I heard that, and she is not the border czar. She literally was given that responsibility. She's not the border czar. And if you want to play on immigration, I will gladly play on immigration. Please explain to me why Donald Trump called up Republicans and told them to tank what would have been the strictest bipartisan immigration bill, in which he said would help President Biden, and Republicans bent the knee. So instead of helping security,
I don't mind you playing whataboutery, but actually it has been Joe Biden's presidency
I'm not. Let's just have facts.
Years.
Wajah, I'm happy to give you an answer.
When it comes to facts, Wajah, you're on slightly slippery ground today, I have to say. I want to change subject now, and I want to move to Benjamin Netanyahu's appearance yesterday in Congress. Wajah, I will start with you here, because I can imagine you were probably not one of the people joining in the wild celebrations of people in Congress at Netanyahu's speech.
Yeah, I mean...
I would agree with him. I don't think we should, people in Congress worship that man like he's a god or something. I think it's ridiculous. But I would love to hear, I've heard what Michael Knowles was about to say to his comeback, because that's what these leftists, these woke lunatics, that's what they always say, is like, oh, well, Joe Biden tried to solve the immigration problem, but, you know, Donald Trump called up all the Republicans and said to block this bill. It's like, I would love to hear what Michael Knowles had to say in response to that, because that's what every single leftist always does. They always play, like Piers Morgan said, the whataboutism game. Yes, Kamala Harris was tasked with taking charge of the border, fixing the border crisis, fixing the immigration problems, and she made it 100 million times worse. But, you know, it's always like the what about, but Donald Trump did this. Like, that's the only game they have to play. It's the only way that they actually win elections, is by saying, yeah, we kind of suck at like every job that we've ever been tasked with, but we're not Donald Trump, so you should vote for us instead. And it works somehow. Like, the Democratic voters are just so stupid that it works for them over and over again. I don't understand it. You know, the Hillary versus Trump race was pretty close. Joe Biden won the election, won the popular vote by a good bit. So, I mean, it obviously works. The Democrat voters are just that stupid. Maybe the Republicans should just start treating their voter base as if they're absolute idiots, and then maybe they'd win more elections. Let me know in the comments what you think about Michael Knowles' appearance on Piers Morgan here, and as well as this woke lunatic, Wajahak or something like that. I don't even know what this guy's name is, but he's an absolute idiot, and Piers Morgan and Michael Knowles just put him in his place. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole Piers Morgan, Michael Knowles, and this woke lunatic situation.